Welcome all of our guests. Okay. Joe, would you lead us in the pledge?
I certainly will. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Joe.
God, we give you thanks for this day, for this good weather, for these people who have joined us for an interesting program. Guide us in all we do in our outreach internationally and local. And we give thanks for this meal and for our fellowship. Amen.
Amen.
And where's Janet, who's going to always slaps me?
We think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
Truth.
Is
It
it
is
very
very
all
concerned.
concerned?
With little goodwill and better friendships, we beneficial to all concerned. Thank you, and be seated. We have enough seats.
Not enough room for dancing.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, guests. I'm J.D. Miller. I'm this year's president of the Scituate Rotary Club. I know you're all here to participate in our program this evening and hear a little bit about what we're doing or what Beth Murphy is doing. But I want to just go through a couple of quick things, as we always do, which is sort of club business. So first and foremost, I think maybe I'd like to just walk around the room really quickly and have all of our guests introduce themselves. So perhaps we could start here.
Oh, hi, my name is Linda Collins. Thank you so much for having us.
You are from the Duxbury?
Duxbury Rotary, thank you.
Steve Dubuque, Duxbury Rotary Club, and it's great to be here.
Welcome.
Cheryl Nachman, Duxbury Rotary.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How about that table?
I'm Susan Sutherland from the County Hanover. I'm Destiny with Michelle from Duxbury. Michelle Shea from Duxbury Rotary.
Charlie Wowser from Duxbury Rotary. George Frigola, Duxbury Rotary. Fred Lequier, I'm president of the Duxbury Rotary Club. And this is my wife, Diane.
Welcome.
And they're my cousins.
Welcome.
And she already put the arm on us for, hey, you need the 50-50 rep.
Good. Yeah, good. She put that one on me, too. How about this table?
My name is Ross Isbrandt. I'm a local Scituate resident, and I was invited by Walter and Sue Helling. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome.
And having me.
Welcome.
I'm Dee Davidson from Sunrise Rotary in Plymouth.
Welcome.
Julie Burgess from around the corner, and I think I'm crashing this because I wasn't invited.
Around what corner?
Everyone's invited.
But it's glad to be here.
welcome.
So you're a Scituate resident?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody's welcome.
Thank you.
Malcolm Gale with the Good Neighbor Fund in Marshfield.
Mary Driscoll, I'm here with Malcolm Gale. I'm from Marshfield.
Welcome. No one, and how about no one at this table? Well, fine.
Diane Sargent, I'm a Scituate resident, and here is a guest of Lucille's.
Welcome all.
Betty Murphy.
Give him a hand.
Let's talk to that. So just walking through our normal order of business here, I always try to make some announcements on schedules and events to remind our membership what we're doing. Next week we have our normal Wednesday night meeting, which is our on our calendar is our meet and greet meeting, which is one of the 2 meetings of the year that we formally invite guests from the community who may be interested in learning a little bit more about Rotary to attend our meeting and hear what we have to say and hear how we do things here in Scituate. So that's next week. The 21st, which is Saturday, is the Rotary Leadership Institute in Lincoln, Rhode Island. The 22nd, which is Sunday, this is a week and a half from now, we are doing, Scituate Rotary is doing our community dinner at St. Luke's with St. Luke's parishioners, seniors, and some Scituate veterans. So we'll be serving dinner on the 22nd from 5 until 7, 4 until 6. And our chefs have already started to work out our menu plan. Excellent.
Not fish.
He already told me, it's spiral ham, right?
Spiral ham.
Okay.
Good to be the chef.
Um,
Anything but fish.
Right.
It'll never be fish.
Right.
Not a thumbnail.
Not big bad fish.
We have changed, well, I'll come back on this because we're going to talk about this in maybe a little bit greater detail. And the Rotary District Conference is in Mystic, Connecticut on April 23rd through 26th. It's a co-conference with another district from Long Island. So that's all on the calendar for the next month or so. Hopefully quickly, before we break to eat, one of our big fundraisers that we're currently involved in right now is our 50/50 raffle, or our Community Connections raffle that Judy's already started to get everyone involved in. So I'm going to touch on that because we've had some changes and some additions to that. So first of all, I'm going to maybe just pass along some information to a couple of tables. We certainly encourage anyone who wants to participate in our fundraising event. It's we are attempting to raise $25,000, half of which we'll distribute to the community, and half of which we'll use to pay off winners. So we will be awarding a winner for $10,000, and second place $1,000 or $2,000, and third place $500. So we will be doing all of that, and what we changed the date this past week, basically because of, among other things, the whole community here has changed its St. Patty's Day presentation and celebration, and we were sort of tying into all of that. The Scituate Parade, which is an annual big event for Scituate, was postponed and pushed back because of the snow. No one could stand on the roads and watch the parade. The parade couldn't set up in parking lots because the parking lots are full of snow, et cetera, et cetera. So the parade has been pushed back to,
12.
I want to say April 12th, right?
17th.
April 12th is the parade. We will be doing our auction event, winning event meeting on that Friday, April 17th. I'm going to pass, maybe I'll hand this over to Lucille for a sec, just to report out on what we're trying to do in terms of bringing in any auction items or anything along those lines that will make that a fun event. And I've got, I think most of our membership have seen this if you've opened your email, but this is our donation form that I'll just pass along because I only printed out one, but it asks for donations to be auctioned off at a silent auction. So, Lucille.
I just want to say that we've reached the point where we can pay our winners, which is great. $12,500 will be going out, and we have about 103 tickets to sell. But we feel that there are 4 weeks. We have 4 weeks ahead of us, and hopefully that will come in. But anyway, we're very happy about that. We changed the date, as JD said. But the good thing is that you're winning. We're only selling 250 tickets, so those are good odds, I think. Anyway, so we're hoping, and we sent the letter. I just want to say I did send something out today, which is a list of all the businesses who have contributed. So you know, if you're going out looking for them, you know, they're on this list, so don't bother them. They came through. And the other thing is, if you sold tickets and you know who they are, don't forget to tell them that there's a date change. We have WATD announcing it. We have the Mariner. We have cable. Thank you. And but still, if you've sold your tickets, please try to tell them there's a change. Also, if you could ask them for an RSVP, because we really want to get a head count. I think we hold 170.
We'll be here in this room, in this space.
We hold 175 here, so we want to keep within the law. But anyway, that's all I want to say. So please continue selling tickets, everybody, and also the items. And I feel like I'm on Channel 2. You know how they keep Thanks, everybody.
Good job, we'll see you.
Right. Yeah, so members continue to sell tickets. As of today, Lucille sent out a quick email that tells us which businesses in Scituate have already participated with a ticket purchase. So if you see anybody that's not on this list, you know that they're fair game to go after. And we welcome anyone who is interested in, we're encouraging people to buy shares of tickets. So if you've got kids that want to buy at $30 each, all of a sudden you've got a $100 ticket and with a chance to win $10,000. So with that, and I know Maureen's beginning to bring out everything that she's got to serve tonight. One of the things we wanted to do tonight was also begin to distribute money and funding that we brought in from our Christmas tree campaign. So we have one of our donor groups here, and maybe I'll bring Mal up, and maybe Jack, if you'd like to come up. So Mal is the head honcho for the Good Neighbor Fund in Marshfield.
I'm the one that you have.
And so and Mel was out pulling people in from Star Market.
Yeah, before I talked him into playing hockey, yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to.
This is what you get when you play with the pro.
Elbows high. So we wanted to make sure we started to give some money back to people.
Yeah, Mal's one of my favorite guys, and he started this Good Neighbor Fund with some money that he won in the lottery, believe it or not. He's not loaded with money, I'll tell you that right now. But he's been very, very generous with Marshfield and Scituate and other areas, and we try to get him a little money every year to try to distribute, maybe focus on fuel around the community. And he also has been asked to help Scituate. He's in contact with people in Scituate to help them set up a fund similar to what he has, so that Scituate can also respond to families that are having difficulty short term. So with that, I'll let you talk for a minute. I got a blank envelope. It's not like graduation where there was nothing in there.
Just when I got out of college?
I told him he could say a word or two.
Yeah. I see there's a lot of new faces here from years past. The Rotary has been very generous to us over the last number of years, and it's very much appreciated. What we do is we help people throughout the South Shore. Normally it's Scituate, Kingston, Duxbury, Pembroke, where our normal clientele comes from. But we help people on the margins. And with the economy being the way it's been for the past 8 or 9 years, there are a lot of people that are on the margins. We've been very fortunate as far as being able to stay afloat and giving them something so that they can at least make it maybe to the next paycheck. And with your generous donations, we've been able to do that. If anybody is interested, we're having a fundraiser for the people that lost their homes from the blizzards and the storms here in Marshfield on the 22nd of March. Okay. It was postponed. We got canceled by a blizzard. So, but we're having one over in Brant Rock. The 3 restaurants are combining forces, and for $20 you can get into the 3 restaurants. Hors d'oeuvres, liquor, it does cost you money, but you'll have hors d'oeuvres and music. And for the Venus, pad ads, and the Jetty. And that's going to be from 3 to 8 o'clock on the 22nd, if anybody is interested. Hopefully it'll be a very good time, and you'll see some of the rest of, I think the rest of my committee will be there, and quite a few other people also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
So all those
they're all participating. We got them all to work together. Yes, lots of us.
That's great.
She said they wanted a good-looking guy for a picture.
Oh.
Came back up here.
Watch how the light reflects.
Yeah, right off my nose.
I use the powder thing.
Okay.
Didn't reflect at all.
Resident photographer.
Thank you.
Thank you,
For your
John.
help selling the trees.
Yeah.
He can sell trees, man. I think I could sell them.
Okay. We want to break for dinner. We want to come back and probably turn the program over to Beth. We've got a very well-attended meeting tonight that's stretching the kitchen, from what I understand. So if anybody's not interested in eating and dieting tonight, you're welcome to skip the buffet. Otherwise, we always start with our guests. So any guests that are here and are paid for dinner, please start us up and we'll get going. Folks, I know everyone's still eating, but I want to try and get started here. There's food. If anyone still needs to go grab some food, there's plenty of food from what I've been told. So please go help yourself. But I wanted to turn the meeting over to the people that we're here to listen to and hear from tonight. So first, though, before we turn it over to Beth and hear about how she's pulled together what tomorrow brings, we also had, due to his efforts, I think, have been able to have Beth scheduled at the Rotary Convention to make a presentation and to show the movie, right? So I wanted Mike Johnson, who sort of spearheaded that effort, I wanted just to have him give us a little background on how all that came together.
Well, as many of you know, we've been involved in conflict resolution films as a club, supporting the film work of John Mahalchik and Ray Helmick at Boston College. Screening the films at Rotary Peace Symposium and Rotary Convention in Montreal for breakout sessions. So when we got involved with Beth's work and Razia's work in Afghanistan, we thought it might be an opportunity to get the word out to a larger number of Rotarians. So we decided to put in a proposal to have Beth show what tomorrow brings, the film about Razia that she's working on right now, showed at the convention. Initially we thought maybe the breakout sessions like we've done in the past, or they have a peace symposium just before the convention, which might be another option. But then we decided at some point to actually maybe consider getting her on the main program of the Rotary Convention, which is the larger plenary session. And we just found out about a week ago that it's been accepted and that Beth is going to be the speaker, one of the speakers at the Rotary Convention in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It'll be in June. And it's pretty extraordinary. And I'm really amazed that Beth has been able to do it. And many of you know the work that we've been involved in Afghanistan, even separate from Razia's work with the Michael J. Kelly School there in Afghanistan, named in honor of Joe Kelly's son, Michael J. Kelly, that many of us are very familiar with. But I'll turn it over to Beth because she's actually going to be heading to Pakistan tomorrow. So we're just delighted that she could be with us at this time of great travel and great activity. Beth?
Right, Beth.
So yeah, it was probably about 8 months ago. I think Mike and John Mahalchik were talking, and Mike had a great idea. So we should do a film about Razia Jean and her work at the girls' school. And so they got in touch with Razia and with Patty Quigley, who's the executive director of the Razia's Ray of Hope Foundation, and they forwarded Mike's email to me. And so I got in touch with him. I said, that is a great idea, and I'm doing a film, and why don't we talk? And so we started talking, and really wonderful things have happened since that point. I mean, I've been here at least twice now, and at other Rotary functions, and I'm so grateful for your individual support is so enthusiastic and wonderful, and it's helping us to really achieve great things. And I think be able to have Razia's work known on a really just incredible global scale at this point, being able to take it to the convention. But also just collectively, I mean, Rotary International is just an awesome organization. And I'm so grateful to kind of have been kind of wrapped up in all the energy that you have and the ability to really get things done. As many of you know, it was really an initial grant from Rotary that made the building of the school possible. And it wasn't really too long ago that Razia was president of the Duxbury Rotary Club, and it's wonderful to have a great contingent here tonight. And I was hoping that it was the Duxbury Rotary Club that gave the initial grant to Razia to build the school, and it's just incredible. And so the film wouldn't be possible. None of this would be possible without that initial support. And I was hoping that George might be able to say a couple words.
It is going to be a couple.
Okay.
I didn't want to take away from your presentation.
No, please.
So, Raj is traveling, as many of you know. In fact, she'll be at Texas A&M this evening. 7 o'clock Texas time, she's presenting at an educational symposium with Laura Bush. Laura Bush is going to be talking about domestic education, and Raj is going to be talking about international education and human rights at 7 o'clock. She was in Portland, Oregon yesterday. She presented at a Rotary Club, a meeting set up by our president, Fred Lequier, in Portland, Oregon. And it was very, very well received. And tomorrow she'll be back in town. So it's Roger called me Sunday morning. Now, nobody calls me on my cell phone except my wife, Roger. And my wife was at home, so I was quite sure. I picked up the phone. I said, "Hello, George, where are you, Roger?" He said, "Los Angeles." So we talked for about an hour. But in her absence, she asked me to thank the members of the Scituate Rotary Club for hosting tonight's event, and on behalf of Raja and the Duxbury Rotary Club, to convey our appreciation and thanks for the club's past and ongoing support of Raja's Ray of Hope Foundation. She said, thank you very much. It means a lot to her. She's the most amazing human I've ever met. If you haven't met Raja, why do you really meet her? She was very, very impressive, inspirational. So, thank you.
Thank you. So when I first traveled in Afghanistan with Razia, she not only was founder of the school and running the school and operating the school and looking for teachers and trying to be a mom to the kids and being there for the teachers who are very young themselves and need a lot of support and need to understand a lot of things happening in their own lives. They're getting married too and entering these new situations that they don't know. They're nervous. They're scared. They don't know what's going to happen. So she's trying to navigate all these relationships, and at the same time, because she's not drawing a salary from Razia's Ray of Hope Foundation, she also had a full-time job, and she was the country director for a nonprofit organization called ARZU, which means Hope in Dari. And I've never seen someone with a more punishing schedule. It was unbelievable, and it would have been punishing in this environment, being able to travel easily on paved roads and, with kind of normal heating and water and sanitation conditions. But she was doing it in one of the most difficult environments on the earth. And I just have so much respect for her and what she's done and how she's been able to really accomplish what she's accomplished. Maybe it's not that it sounds easy. Go and then start a school and open a school. But I think when you say it, it's just assumed like, she they got a grant, and she went and she built a school, and that was that. You need a little seed money, and you need someone to do the bricks and mortar, and the kids are there. Get them some books and pencils, and you're good to go. And nothing could be further from the truth. It is so enormously difficult. I think some of you, have heard some of the stories from the beginning, that there was a real desire to make it a boys' school, and that pressure, to really make it a boys' school. And then over the years, as that pressure is still there, I think it ebbs and flows. But there's also this sense of, the girls in the community really now have this incredible thing, and it's a beautiful school, and it's doing very well. The girls are learning so much, and oftentimes when they go home, they're outpacing the brothers in the family with their education. When I was there, I'll never forget. The Ministry of Education, one of their representatives came, and he had with him, he had a letter. And he went classroom to classroom, and he read from the letter. And he said, I have here a letter from the Ministry of Education, and this letter says that out of 14 districts, your school is the best. And it's the best, you have the most academic excellence. The students here are doing the best academically. And it was also, other factors that went into it is that they have modern toilets, and they have a good, they have running water in the school, and those were also reasons that were in the letter, that this school is considered the most excellent school in the region. And he said, this is quite an accomplishment in the Day Subs region, which is where the school is. And I think about what I've seen. The first time I went to the school was in 2009, and it was a year after the school had started. And it was very much kind of a tenuous time in the village in terms of that the support for the school, and the difficulty with really bringing the men into the fold and really getting their support, because there was enough that the school opened, because without it, it wouldn't have even opened. But there was that sense that every day, that walking on eggshells sense of, are they still supporting it today? They seemed to support it yesterday, but what about a week from now or a month from now? And so she was very much at that time still really kind of fighting for that support from them, and really kind of pleading with them to provide not just the support, but beyond that real security in the community for the school, and to keep an eye on it and make sure that nothing happens. And it was incredible. They had this. She had a meeting with the village elders, and they came around, and you could see a lot of the men were pretty sheepish, and they didn't really want to they had their heads down and didn't really want to look at her. And she said she told me later, well, their heads were down because they can't stand it, because I'm not really covered in the right way, and I'm a woman in a leadership position. She said, but my head was way up high because I wanted to look them in the eye and tell them, you have to make a change. And it's just like this kind of breathtaking moment of this real, for them to come face to face with a woman who has Razia grew up in Afghanistan, as you know, but then had lived in the U.S. for 30 years and is able to navigate really just really beautifully and almost perfectly in both of these environments. And the most recent report on this particular topic was, I think, from 2009 by CARE International, that talks about the success for girls' school. It really is really heavily dependent on that community engagement, and I mean, she has it now in spades, and it's just remarkable. When the school started, there were just about under 150 kids in the school. That was 2008, and now there are almost 500. They went from 5 classrooms. When it started, it was kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade were the classes. Now, every grade through grade 7 has 2 classes each, and then they now are up to 12. The first graduation will be in November, which is really exciting. So from 5 classes to 21 classes, if I'm doing my math right, which is probably got to be close. It's close. So yeah. So I mean, that's just. I mean, the numbers. Really say something. But there are some things that I think numbers really can't say. And one of the most really just striking things that I've come to appreciate over these years of getting to know the teachers and getting to know the kids is sort of just like having like a retinkering, a rethinking of what success looks like. What does success mean? What is it? And I think when we look at the Scituate High School, what is success there? Is it almost 100% graduation rate? 95% of the kids going to college, and we have these ideas of what success means in society when it comes to education, when it comes to school and higher education, and there we're not going to see that, and that doesn't mean it's not success. And what we've realized over these years is that most of the girls are not going to be able to probably go on to college, at least not right now. So those girls who started when they were older, when we were there in 2009, for example, there was an 18-year-old who came to register, and she went into the 5th grade. So there's, so the difference between the girls who started in kindergarten and the 18-year-olds who started in 5th grade, there's a really there's a big difference there in maybe what the the kind of achievement will be. But I think it's not the right metric to look at maybe what the graduation rate is, or what the percentage is of the girls who go on to college right now, to say what's success and what's not success, because I think something even more important is happening in the community, and something even actually more difficult, something that was a greater challenge is happening, which is that mindsets are being changed. And that people who before never supported girls' education, and this is the first time there's been a girls' school there, who never supported education, are now supporting it wholeheartedly. I cannot tell you the number of times we were in the school and men in the community would be walking up, young daughter, hand in hand with 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, they're at the front gate saying, can you enroll my daughter? Can you take her? Can I put her in school? Or they'd be in the principal's office, and there's a little girl, and Razia would be at the desk, asking her some general admissions questions, like, hey, can you write your name? Can you write your father's name? Hey, what's 2 + 1? And so then the father would have to come, and he would have to. So she would say, yes, okay, we're going to put you in the 1st grade. And okay, it's we have some paperwork here for you to sign. Father, can you come sign it? No, I can't. And they would get out the color pad and the ink pad, and he would sign with his thumb. So that appreciation for education and trying to give the daughter something that they don't even have themselves is just really stunning to see in action. Even the one of the Molochs in the village, so really he's kind of like the mayor in the village. He's the Jim Cantwell of Day Subs, and he's and he was the only one. He went to the 6th grade, and his daughter now will help him read and write letters, and help to sort of do some of the work that that he needs to do to people come to him with with problems, and he tries to solve problems, but he recognizes that he needs help, and he said, I wish I knew computers, I wish I knew English, but there's not a that jealousy, or because I don't have it you shouldn't have it. It's no, we see how our lives are benefiting as a whole, as my daughter's life is benefiting individual, our lives as a family, are benefiting from this education, and our involvement with the school, and therefore the community is also being affected in a really positive way. And that's really, it just speaks volumes about how Razia has done it, and in that environment, and the way that she has. She hasn't backed down, at all. One thing that I think is interesting that sort of, speaks to this idea of how the kind of backing down and how far do you push. It's been really interesting to watch is, when the girls, I would say that the number one threat to their education is forced marriage and early marriage. And so, by the time the girls are hitting 7th and 8th grade, you get to those teen years, and that's when the family pressure starts to come in to start to wear the burqa. That's where the, families start to engage the girls. And what's happening is that this school is such a safe place for the girls. It's the place where they really get to be kids there. That's where they are the most themselves, I would say. And it's also where they're really learning how to operate in the world and in their environment in a new way and be able to interact with their peers, interact with their families in ways that just really weren't possible before because they didn't have exposure to these ideas or to the people who would be able to kind of teach them about what it means to become a woman in Afghanistan. And most of the teachers there aren't that much older than the girls themselves. And so, they've been recently, been through what these girls are going through, or they're about to go through it themselves if they haven't already. And so, the girls, as the Ministry of Education said, it's number one academically, but what's happening there goes so far beyond reading, writing, and science and math. It's this real education about their lives and who they are and who they want to be and how can they help them fulfill their dreams. And there wasn't one girl that I talked to who was engaged who wanted to be engaged. So none of them were happy about it, and some just accepted it more than others. Some thought, some of their peers had sadder stories than theirs, and so that made them feel a little better about what was happening with them. But on the whole, none of them wanted to be in that position. So typically, what would happen is that when the girl is engaged, more often than not, even if her family would support for her to continue her education, her future in-laws tend not to be supportive is kind of the norm, and so she has to stop her schooling. And so what they say goes, and that's that. And for the first time, the girls are standing up and saying, no, I don't accept this. At least let's have a conversation about it at least. And so and I think what's been amazing to me is to see how amazed Razia is by this. I would not really have a bar by which to judge this if I were not kind of just watching her reaction to what's happening. And what she's seeing and what we witnessed is that the girls will go to the family and say, well, once they get past, I don't want to be engaged, and they say, well, too bad you're going to be engaged. But then the conversation changes. The conversation becomes, okay, well, I accept the engagement, may not be happy about it, but I want you to allow me to continue my education. Can we agree to that? And the answer has started coming back, yes. Yes, we'll let you graduate. Yes, we'll let you graduate. And so this kind of new voice that they have through the guidance from the school, through Razia, through the teachers, is really making a difference in their lives, because every time, every moment that they are postponing that wedding, it's a real gain for them and their lives. One of the girls at the school who is about to graduate, and there's something really unique happened a couple years ago, which was, it's like this ticking, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking on the engagement. And so, some of the girls had an opportunity. The older girls had an opportunity. The ninth graders to take a test and to see if they would do well enough to skip a grade. And in fact, there were 7 girls who did do well enough to skip the 10th grade, and they went into the 11th grade, and now those are the girls who are about to graduate. So anyway, one of the girls who was able to skip a year, she did get engaged 2 years ago, and she went to the family, and just remarkable, just really a poetic girl. Her name's Yalda, and she said, life is like a guitar, and it can play happy notes and it can play sad notes, but we have to listen to both. And she went to the in-laws family and said, not only do I want you to let me finish my high school, but I want your assurance that you're going to let me go on to college. And they've given it. So obviously we're still, watching this, but this happened, and they, many people are, true to their word, and I think that, when these commitments are made, at least most of them will be standing by them, that these are, they've kind of laid out the future for the daughters. So we'll see. So she's looking forward to that. And it looks like her family might be able to, allow her, they're well enough off that she would be able to afford to go to Kabul and go to the city and go to college. For most of the girls, that's not the case. They're not going to be able to go to school beyond high school. Either the families won't want them to go to the city, they won't have the transportation, they don't have the money to pay for school. I mean, there's so many impediments. So I think what's like so exciting and so remarkable is that, Razia's attitude is, well, they might not be able to go to the city for college, but maybe the college comes to them in their village. And so that is really, that's the dream. And there is some new land that would make it possible for a center for higher education to go up and have a continuation for the girls. And so that's kind of the next. That's phase 2, Zabuli 2, and it's really exciting to think about because there's so much that that can be done. Even Day Subs is really, I often say village, but really Day Subs is the region. And so in the immediate area, for villages that the school draws upon, there are really 7 villages that come to the Zabuli school. But the Day Subs region has 46 villages ultimately and about 100,000 people. So someone who has a degree in teaching, a girl who comes out, with a nursing degree or something in information technology, computer science, which those are really the 3 areas that they're thinking about focusing on for the Center for Higher Education, would really be able to, achieve a lot in that community, and that knowledge would be really, really welcome. It's hard to watch now. Most of the teachers do come from the city. Really, because the talent pool. I mean, it's very difficult to find teachers who are certified, to find teachers who have the right skill set in the first place, especially female teachers, and that's true throughout the country. It's particularly difficult to attract them to a small village, and so what's happening is, I was there for a couple of times when they were interviewing teachers. So it was funny. So Razi asked this one candidate, and she said, "So what was your ranking? Like where were you in your class?" And she's like, "Oh, I was 8th in my class." And she's like, "Why weren't you first?" She's like, "We're looking for someone who was first in her class." So. But so that is, and it's wonderful, and that's who they have teaching, and it's really impressive to see that the turnover rate is pretty low, but the reality is when teachers are single teachers, when they do get married, they usually don't come back, and that's a hard reality. There was another teacher interview where. Another teacher who was in the room said, "Oh, are you engaged?" And she said, "No." She said, "Oh, good." She said, "Razi is scared of engaged women." So it's and the way that they're able to attract, part of the way that they're able to attract teachers, not only is it the academic standards are very high, it's a very nice environment in which to teach. but the reality is that it's far, and the women who teach, they do need to have female teachers, and, most of the teachers do have full lives at home. Many of them have children, they're married, they have a lot of responsibilities with the in-laws and with the nieces and nephews, uncles and aunts, and so it's a real pressure. One of the teachers, so Rosie sends a van to pick them up. Part of it is, security, but there'd really be no other way for them to get there. And, they're spending 2 hours a day each way, getting to and from. And so it's challenging, but they offer, they have, a wonderful, salary, I think, for the teachers, paying anywhere from 40 to 60%, higher than other private schools. And it's just, the fact that, you can have an only is just, one of those, wow. So, it is the only free private school in the country. And so it's something it's very, very special, not just, for the community, but I think for the country as a whole, and really could serve as a model, for other communities that are looking to, educate the country's daughters and, move them into a position, to go on and into higher education. So I think, so our plan really is, to hopefully have, Rotary International be an incredible, and Rotary clubs around the country and around the world be partners on the project to build the Center for Higher Education, and to maybe make the announcement of, for me, from the film perspective, I consider it to be it will be the impact campaign of the film, that we will build a campaign around the film to do some really major fundraising to help build this, and our plan is to announce that at the convention. So so I hope, my dream right now is to go back for the graduation, and I'm trying very hard not to think about putting that into the end of the film, because the film should be fully edited by the end of the month, by the end of next month. I'll be doing a screening of a work in progress. We're in post-production right now. We are fully editing the film, and it's just getting kind of closer and closer every day. And we have a cut that's good enough to go. We're calling it a work in progress, and we'll be screening it late next week at the Human Rights Watch Film Festival in London, and we'll also be screening it at the Human Rights Watch Festival in New York in May. And then the plan, though, is for the big release and the real premiere to come in the fall. And so that will happen. So it'll probably be on the film festival circuit for about a year, so September to September-ish. And then it'll air on PBS, and we'll start the impact campaign. Maybe also in the fall. We're kind of just working out that timing now. And it's been, I know that the school will be part of my life, forever. And it's just been amazing to watch, to watch the girls grow up, and to see, I think, it's really special. I know, probably, many of us have had special relationships with teachers, but I have never experienced or seen here anything like the relationships that they have there. Some of the teachers, the teachers really, they treat the girls like they are their daughters, like they're their sisters, in such a genuine and authentic way, and they don't do it with just their favorites. I think this is sort of the key. It's, I think here, a certain few will have those very special bonds with teachers, but there are so many of the kids that get to, really have that experience, and they sometimes won't even call the teacher, they will call the teacher mother. And it just brings tears to your eyes, what that means and what it's meant. And I remember being in the principal's office one day, and they had gathered a couple of the teachers and the principal had gathered all the girls in the school who were engaged, and they said, we brought you here because we want to talk to you about your engagement and what you're going through, and you know, one of the girls, you know, she started to cry, and you know, and she was, you know, like a teenager, she was upset about everything. She was upset about the engagement, but she was also upset that, you know, she felt like the clothes were too tight and she felt fat, and that people were looking at her and maybe making fun of her. And you know, the principal looked at her and said, you know, my daughter, you know, don't cry. She said, I want you to know we'll do everything we can to help you. We'll get you bigger clothes, and I just want you to know that you have a mother at home and you have a mother here. And I said, wow, it's just, you know, that's the most supportive, loving environment you could ever ask for. So I think, you know, it's it's an incredible gift to the community and to the country, and I think, you know, knowing Razia is a gift to all of us. And I feel like I'm now on a, you know, kind of personal mission to really try to help her achieve her dreams, you know, in the country, and to just really, you know, follow through with the girls and help them achieve as much as they possibly can. You know, it's that realization, you know, when they were in 4th grade, getting them to 12th grade was, wow, you know, that's like, whew, can we do that? Well, now here they are, they're in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I was like, well, now what? We can't stop here. You know, what's next? And so, anyway, so we'll, you know, you'll see me in 20 years, we'll be building a senior center or something. So, yeah.
How is the van? Is the van in progress, number one? And did you touch on your film?
The van?
Yeah.
The teacher?
Transportation van?
Oh, the teacher van. Yeah. So, so they had the first one that they had, you know, back in 2008 and 9. Now they've got a more souped up van. It's a larger van. They have more teachers. So, yeah. So it's great, and it's not, you know, I think it's interesting even to find a van there. So, but yeah, no. So it's great, and they have, you know, drivers, and it's worked out really well, and they just kind of go house to house, and you know, it's interesting. It's just like kind of the logistics of it, right? And you know, Kabul's a big city, so I remember, you know, they were considering, one teacher was leaving, and they were hiring a new teacher, and you know, it was a big deal. It's like, well, where does she live? And they're like, oh, she lives, you know, here. She lives near so and so. It's like, oh, thank goodness, you know, so we can, after we pick, you know, her, we can go, and it'll be, you know, just logistically, you know, easier, because it's really challenging, you know. I mean, really, what should be probably a 30-minute drive is 2 hours plus, because it's you know, it's because of the road conditions, the traffic, and so.
And
But,
then one
yeah.
more question. How about the film? Can you touch on your film
Sure.
a little bit?
Yeah.
What tomorrow brings?
Yeah, so I mean that is the film. I mean, really, it's really about it's about the school. It's about all the people who bring it to life. We have you know, really featured in the film. Razia is obviously featured in the film, and she, you know, she's able to bring a perspective that no one else can in the film, and so she really, I think she's kind of your trusted narrator, I would say, throughout the film, and she's, you know, she's able to really give the perspective. She's able to share, you know, the change that she's seeing, and I think seeing the school through her eyes really, I hope, will give, you know, viewers a real appreciation for what's happening, and to really understand what she's been through the process. And then there is really one teacher who's featured really prominently. There are 2 students who are featured very prominently. But then there's kind of this kind of chorus of voices, you know, other students, you know, coming into the picture, other teachers, and then certainly the villagers. And I think what really comes through, which surprised me, actually, this really surprised me a lot. But as we've been, even there, it's really only been in the edit that this has really become so clear to me, is how strong the mothers are. And I think that really comes through. And I'm really happy about that, because it's sort of, I think, unexpected that there's this expectation that the women are just, you know, victims and they can't stand up for themselves. And so there's this very kind of quiet strength going on behind the scenes that is pretty remarkable. And I think that really is coming through. The film is about just going to be a feature-length film for the film festivals. It'll be about 85 minutes or so. And then we'll also do an hour-long version for broadcast. I'll cut it down even further and do a shorter version for classroom use. And then we'll also do kind of some thematic clips, even shorter things, anywhere from like 30 seconds to 3 minutes, that teachers and community people can use to spark discussion. And there'll be a guide that will go along with it. We're working with Facing History and Ourselves to work on the study guide and the curriculum to go along with it. And so yeah, so there'll be the impact. So there's the film, and I really hope. I mean, what I'd like for the film to be is kind of really a media engine to raise awareness about the issues, and I think to really hopefully develop an appreciation, especially at this kind of moment in history when the U.S. is withdrawing from the country, that there's not a whole overall mindset of withdrawal from even humanitarian work or withdrawal from support for people like Razia, who are really the ones making peace in the country and laying the groundwork for that. And so I think I kind of think now more than ever, and I suspect this is what I hope Laura Bush is talking about this tonight with Razia, but that there's this real need to continue to support people like Razia in the country, because it's difficult. We hear a lot of negative news coming out of Afghanistan. So I think to really be able to, it's been a joy to really be able to focus on something so positive and so successful that I think really, as I said, can be an example for other places in the country, because it's working there, and it's it's not easy. It's not easy any day, and that's really why the film is called What Tomorrow Brings, because they don't know what tomorrow brings, and that uncertainty is leaves a pit in your stomach, and it's terrifying actually. But with that sense of uncertainty, there's also so much that's been accomplished already to use as the foundation for achieving even more, which is really exciting. Yes.
Beth, the version that you're showing in London at the Human Rights Watch, is that a version that's already up and?
No.
So it won't be possible to see it at all till the following?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
What Russia was pointing to it is the students' eagerness to learn and the excitement of them to participate in learning. That was her main point in all this. Yeah.
It's true. He's just talking about the excitement of the girls to learn. It is, and it's true. They do. They're running to class in the morning. And Razia, she's funny. She said, she's like, here in America, you have to you have to wake the kids, you have to drag them out of bed and pillows over the head. They're jumping up and they're running out to school. And it's true, and it's funny. There was a little girl. She was 11 years old. And they brought her into the 2nd grade. She had never been to school before. Her father was a mullah in the village and was doing homeschooling. The uncle, so the father's brother, he was a principal at a boys' school, and he was always begging his brother, please let your daughters go to school. Four daughters, and please let your daughters go to school, please. And the little girl, a piece of her interview is in the film where she says, I would beg my father, please can I go to school? Please can I go to school? And he always said no, but then, finally her uncle begged and begged, and father gave in eventually, and he didn't send all the daughters, but he sent a couple. So, yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about what you have to do to ensure the safety of the girls inside the school?
Sure. So, that really comes from the village, and having the community elders be on board with the school being there. They also do have a 24/7 guard. So they have 2 guards at the school, each, rotating half day each. And that's really, the guard alone can't do it, but the guard is, they do have, high walls, as most, houses do in Afghanistan. And then there's a guard who sits by the gate all day, all night, and opens and closes the door. But it's really the support of the community. I mean, that's really it. And you know, there were some issues when the third floor was being built. You know, some of the people in the community just, you know, got really, you know, upset and worried, you know, what's going to happen when America pulls out, and what happens if the Taliban comes into the village, and, you know, they could take the school over and use it as a headquarters, and, you know, what then? And you know, I was like, why would you ever let that happen? You know, she said, I suggested to them that they should lay down their lives before they ever let that happen. Don't let that happen. No one should come and be able to take over this school. You should be protecting it with your life. And I think that idea has really, you know, resonated in the community in terms of, you know, I mean, it's one of the most powerful moments, I think, in the film, when the village elders are there, kind of surrounding, you know, Razia, and they're all kind of throwing questions at her. They're like, you know, can you add more classes for some of the older girls, because you know, there's some, you know, older girls who have never been to school. Maybe we could do. We know that you can't put, you know, a 14-year-old in first grade, but, you know, what should we do? What if there were an after school program, and these girls could go to something like that and kind of, you know, start to catch up? You know, could you add some things? And she said, well, you know, first you have to assure me that nothing's going to happen to this school, that no one will destroy the school. And one of the village elders looked at her and he said, if this school is destroyed, this whole village is destroyed. And I'm like, wow, it's just, so that's now, you know, the mindset, which is, it's remarkable.
Questions?
Yeah, questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
With regard to this one engaged girl that's going to be going to college,
Yeah.
How readily accepted is it for her to be able to even go to college? There must be all men at the college at this point. So how is she going to easily be able to assimilate, I guess?
No, I mean, there are a lot of girls in college. There's in Kabul, there's Kabul University, there's American University.
So there are plenty of girls that have been able to get educated.
Yeah.
This just happens to be this area.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't huge, but there are a lot of girls right now in university. Yep. Yeah.
What kind of communications with the outside world? Did the
Yeah.
cell phones, TVs,
Yep.
computers?
Yep. All of that. Not a lot of the girls have cell phones, but at the school they're connected, you know, at the internet. And last I was there, they had just gotten 10 new computers, so they have a lot of computers. They have solar panels on the roof, so they're always, you know, kind of charged up. But there's something about the service. I've got to get the whole story, but they're getting their something's coming through India. And apparently when it rains in India, they have trouble with their internet. Something like that. So it's so it's funny. So the girls will, you know, they've got Yahoo accounts and they want Facebook accounts and they ask about that. And so, you know, Razi was meeting with them one day and they're like, okay, well, give us your Skype, you know, your Skype name and number and your Facebook account and all of that. And but it was interesting. They have different opinions about, you know, what's out there on the internet, but they are very much, you know, connected in that way, much more so than other members of their family for sure. And they're funny. They're like, yes, when we ever use Yahoo Mail, it's really slow. Can we? They want Gmail accounts. So,
Are they speaking in English too?
So they are learning English. In fact, so most. At schools in Afghanistan, private schools, public schools, wherever English is taught, they start teaching it in the 4th grade. They got a special approval from the Ministry of Education to start teaching it in kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
You might mention the Skyping with the Sharon Rotary Club. I think that's
Yeah, so that was remarkable. So with the Sharon Rotary Club and Sharon Middle School, they organized, it was through Global Nomads organization. They set up a series of not just calls, but they also had kind of work to do in between the calls. They had to select a topic and kind of work on it and work together and then tell each other about it. They set up a series of video conference calls with girls at Sharon Middle School. So it was really great. And what was cool is that for a couple of the calls, Razia was in the States. And so, you know, so she was right there in the room with the girls and Sharon and able to really explain things about Afghanistan. I think they were able to get in a way that they wouldn't have been able to if she weren't there. But yeah, it was really interesting because that led to some really interesting conversations. The girls and Sharon took on as their project just, you know, girls' education in developing countries, kind of in general, Afghanistan in particular, and so they were just very focused on girls' education, and so they did a screening of the film Girl Rising, and they had a whole kind of session and seminar around that, and so that was what they were trying to kind of push forward and raise awareness about. For the girls in Afghanistan, their conversations were focused on troop withdrawal and what's kind of what's on the horizon, and also drug addiction in the village. So it was really interesting, and they had some really robust discussions about the role of foreign troops and kind of what that means, the responsibility within the country, and even talking about kind of the education level of Afghan troops, that they have an appreciation for the fact that a lot of the troops themselves are not educated, and they had the feeling that the men should have more education too, and so that was interesting. And more than one girl that we talked to who's engaged also voiced that opinion that maybe I wouldn't mind being engaged to someone who I like him a lot better if he were continuing his education. I don't want him to stop his education either. Why doesn't he graduate from high school and want to go on to college? So interesting. So you can see how, as these ideas develop and those things start to kind of take hold in the community, that they're going to shape the lives of much more than just the girls in the community, and it can really, I think, create a lot of change.
It's a culture change.
Yeah, and you see it happening there. That's what's remarkable, and it's something that you think, as you always say. And Razia has said this too, that you expect change in 20 years, and it will. I mean, that's when it will be really big. But what's happening here, it seems like already kind of this seismic shift. So that's, I mean, it's really, it's definitely the beginning.
What are they preserving that's important though? Because sometimes I feel we change so much that we lose too much.
Yeah.
So what are they?
Well, thank you, because you actually reminded me of what I wanted to say. So when the girls are on the internet, Yalda, the girl I talked about who wants to go on to college and got the authorization to do that, she said, but when she's on the internet, she sees a lot of people, and she think that people are kind of half naked, and she just said, I hope it never becomes like that in Afghanistan, because even though we're being exposed to the outside world, we have to preserve what's unique and what's important to us, and our own culture has to stay, that we can be exposed to this, but that we can't we shouldn't change. So I thought that was interesting, and so I think for the girls, I think what they're preserving. I mean, the way of life in that community. Day Subs means green village. So it's very heavily agriculture based economy there. They're really well known for their grape harvests. So that's something. I mean, I think that kind of the how they live and how they earn their money. Those things don't seem to be changing at all during this. It's just that more people now the girls will be able to participate more fully in society.
What's the average age that a girl becomes engaged, and then how much longer after that before they're usually married?
It is, if I'm gonna, in the country, about 50% of the girls are married before they're 18 years old, and of those, about more than 25% are married before they're 15. Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
you're
Beth.
very welcome. Thank you so much.
Our photographer beckons, hold on. Come on. Thank you, Beth, for all your work. Thank you for being with us again tonight. After our photographer takes care of things, I'm going to close the meeting.
Okay, then I could do alone.
Okay.
My
picture later.
Yeah, okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure Beth has a few minutes after we break to, if anybody has any questions, but certainly want to thank everyone for being here tonight and attending. Hope you learned a little bit about what's going on. We look forward to the schedule of when various clips or screens or things like that are going to be forthcoming. A reminder to any and all guests who are interested in participating in our Community Connections raffle, please grab a ticket and or grab a piece of paper and write a ticket. Oh, well, our April 17th event will feature silent auction and music and et cetera, right here. So we'll be doing all that on April 17th. Any guests that are here that are non-Rotarians? The Scituate Rotary Club's having our introductory meet and greet meeting next week. So if you're certainly welcome to return here next Wednesday night and learn a little more about Rotary. So with that, do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please. And a second? Yes, please. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming, everybody.